Chiefs Kingdom, welcome into the latest episode of the AP Breakdown on the Arrowhead Pride YouTube. We're live on YouTube and Twitter tonight, as usual. Coming to you on a Monday night. We got some Monday Night Football going on, although it doesn't look like much of a game right now. So please stick around here. We'll show you some better football coming up. I am Ron Kopp Jr., lead analyst at arrowheadpride.com. With me, as always, Caleb James at CJ Scoobs on Twitter. We're film analysts for the site. We love to break it down. And this was one of the more fun ones to break down of the season for the Chiefs, advancing to 14-1 with a 27-19 win over the Houston Texans on Saturday. And yeah, we're looking at the offense tonight, Caleb. Both of us have some offensive topics, and I think that's fair. I think the offense deserves a full show. What are your initial impressions coming out of that 27-19 win?
I do think this was one of the most complete games the offense has played all season. It wasn't perfect, but it looked like they had the ability to move the ball when they needed to. They had some big boy drives in the second half where they needed to go down and score touchdowns, not kick field goals, not just get points, go down and score touchdowns. Put a team like the Texans on the ropes, a team with a good defense, a team that's been carried by their defense this year. And the Chiefs being able to come out and, Hollywood Brown, his first game of the season, he just came in and looked like a difference maker. Xavier Worthy looks like he's turning the corner a little bit. And then you just have all the other guys, all the other little things that kind of turned it into a really great day for the offense overall.
Yeah, I mean, you're setting me up well because I will be highlighting the play of Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown, just combining for a lot of big plays. Getting open, scheming, being schemed open, using that speed, using that explosiveness. That is definitely the case. But yeah, to your point, just the full game. I mean, it can be as simple as you look at it. The Chiefs came out, scored an opening drive touchdown, and then finished the game with a drive that sustained it through the end of the clock. Got to the kneel downs. That kind of just encompasses what we saw on Saturday. Just yeah, first quarter to fourth quarter, a complete game. Defense had its moments too. Obviously gave up some plays, but held the team under 20 again. Another good defensive performance. The pass rush again. Having some plays, but the DB stepping up as well. That early pick. Before I get into the offense, just is the defense still on a good trajectory, you think, after coming out of this game, as we're only a few games away from this postseason run?
I think they looked fine. I didn't think they were great, but I like that they're starting to take the ball away from teams a little bit. You see McDuffie with another pick, Jaden Hicks with another pick. You're starting to see the ball get turned over a little bit. And there was a couple of plays where I think the Chiefs pass rush, like George Karlaftis, is probably seconds away from some strip sacks also. Obviously, Chris Jones, a little bit of a calf injury late. Don't like to see that. But
Yeah.
overall, I do like the performance because I think CJ Stroud's still a very good quarterback. Yeah, he's going through a little bit of a sophomore slump, but there was plays out there that you're like, oh, we should sack him, and then he escapes. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of what it looks like when, Patrick Mahomes goes out and does something like that. I'm not saying Stroud is Patrick Mahomes, but he's an immensely talented quarterback. I think he's going to be one of the faces of the league here soon. He's just kind of in a situation kind of like Pat has been a little bit up until this point where protection not always the greatest, and obviously like injuries in the receiving core. That's kind of been why the Texans offense has struggled at times this season.
Yeah, no, I think CJ Stroud played a heck of a game on Saturday. He really tried to will them. There was a few play. There was that one drop at one point that killed the drive for them. That wasn't his fault. He played a pretty good game. They kept getting them to third down, and he kept converting those plays. Got to give the other side some credit when it's due. But yeah, let's look at the other side. Let's look at the Chiefs offense. Let's look at what we had on Sunday or Saturday, excuse me, with the return of Hollywood Brown. I think that's where I want to start. He didn't lead the receiving core or anything. That was Xavier Worthy, which I have a batch of his plays to show as well. But it was cool to see them get him going right off the bat. This was a fourth down and short. First of all, shout out Andy for going for it on 4th and 1. Shout out for Pat for getting them to 4th and 1 on that 3rd and 13. That was crazy. First drive, Pat just pulls out 2 scrambles. That was pretty funny to see. That he just said, what bum ankle. But no, on this play here, just using his speed and doing a lot of what the Chiefs love to do. a lot of shallow crossers, a lot of crossing routes, get across the field, make these defenders, whether they're man in zone, just be in conflict. If you got to chase somebody or you got to, look across the field, who am I picking up? It's kind of a combination of both here because, the Texans are playing a little bit of man match where, they're playing man up to a point, and then you got to pass it off and give it to another player across the field. That's what we're going to see down here with Kelsey's guys covering him, but he has to be able to pick up Hollywood Brown. But Hollywood just does a really good job of taking the angle here and then just exploding in front of his face. That sounded bad. And getting to the second level for a first down. Just getting him an easy play to get him going, in his first game back. But it's just good design. And that's what having speed does, because what you see is you also have Worthy working on the second level. He's another option here. He's covered up actually pretty well. He gets picked up. And that's just going to be a hard throw for him to make, right? For Mahomes to make with that safety coming down. But again, it's just having both of them with that speed to get across the field, putting stress on defenders. Having both of them in the mix is just a lot for defenses to handle, to manage, and it leads to a first down, a pretty easy completion for a first down here. And it actually does the same thing on the second completion too. This was a third down on, I think, the third drive of the game. Hollywood Brown, that most inside receiver in the bunch set. And you're just going to see that, that bunch set just creates a little bit of traffic, and that man defender trying to pick up Brown just gets caught up in the traffic. Worthy does a really good job. Look how fast Worthy comes off the ball and just fires himself into the defenders to create that traffic. That's just a nice savvy play by Worthy here, helping Brown get open. But yeah, the Texans do just kind of mess this up and don't pick up appropriately. The corner definitely could have helped himself by getting a little deeper over the top. But again, just a really good, this is what speed does. These DBs are on their heels trying to figure out, oh shoot, do I need to stay inside? Do I need to have, stay on top? Do I need to have outside inside leverage? All of a sudden, it just leads to mental mistakes and things like this that are easy completions. Again, a couple nice easy completions for Brown to get his Chiefs career going. Yeah, first couple career receptions for Brown, which is pretty wild to think that he's playing with a few more weeks left in the regular season until the postseason. There's so much more we can see from him, and this is a good example of that, where this could have been a touchdown potentially if Pat just kind of calms down, delivers it on him. This is a design rollout. I love this play because a lot of times this is just a little out and a corner route or something with the two receivers here, and so that's why you see this cornerback kind of get into conflict, because he's kind of just thinking, okay, Brown's going to run an out route and I'm going to have the corner out behind me. I just need to get depth for that. So he's going to turn and try to find that corner out. Once he realizes, oh shoot, Worthy went inside. Where's Brown at? Brown's already turning upfield, and it's an out and up, could be a huge completion. And so this is just a great design from the Chiefs, really strong play design. And again, if Mahomes just kind of calms down and starts actually do it from the end zone angle, so you can see his footwork, it just gets a little sped up here, just gets a little excited maybe outside the pocket, seeing that he's going to have a huge play. Just needs to put this on him. There's no one around him, and this could have been, if Brown catches this in stride up the sideline, makes one move on a defender, this is a touchdown maybe. So again, Hollywood Brown just already making plays happen, already getting into situations where he can make plays just with his speed. And then the final little sprinkle on top is late in the game. They didn't complete this, but we've seen these back shoulders from Mahomes lately with D-Hop. But Marquise Brown's a veteran receiver too, and a lot of those back shoulder timing and chemistry is just about, being a veteran, someone that the quarterback can trust on these throws. And so I just like to see Mahomes even attempting this, because this is an opportunity to get a big play when nothing else is really wide open, right? Just get into that back shoulder. And he just tries it. It doesn't work, right? Hollywood Brown doesn't even, he didn't really turn for it. And maybe there was a miscommunication here where he didn't, think there was a back shoulder coming, because he didn't really even, feel like it was coming to him. But all that to say, Mahomes attempting it, Mahomes seeing it, because there is the room for it here. There's a lot of room for that back shoulder to get completed. And again, it's because Hollywood has that speed that really puts defenders like this, like, oh shoot, I got to really catch up. It gives them that window behind them to make that completion. So I'd love to see a few more of those as the season goes. But yeah, no, I think Hollywood, brings just a great element to this Chiefs offense passing, just with his speed and again, just being a veteran too. I think you've seen Mahomes trust the veteran experience of D-Hop in situations. I think you're going to see that same thing with Hollywood, because I do think he plays bigger than his size. I said that before they signed him. That's why I was excited when they signed him. I think he can really be a tough receiver. although they may, try to limit that a little bit, as we saw what his injury was, getting just shoved into the ground and then breaking his clavicle. So, yeah, no, that was that. Let's keep him to the sideline and outside routes for now. But the highlight of the game, Caleb, it really was Xavier Worthy. This was the Xavier Worthy game. This was kind of his breakout game to me because there were just so many different ways he got the ball and made a big play. This being one of the first, or I think the first, where this honestly stood out to me just watching it live from the TV angle. This is Derek Stingley covering him. And Derek Stingley is one of the better cornerbacks in the NFL right now, one of the better young cornerbacks. He's been playing really well, really good football. And you're just going to see that Xavier Worthy just does a simple in and out, right? An in and out, out route. But the acceleration and the quickness he has with his route break and getting back out where he accelerates so far outside that Stingley has no chance to recover, even on a ball thrown inside of Worthy. This ball's behind Worthy when it gets thrown to him. And that's just how much separation Worthy created that quickly. Stingley wasn't even able to break up a pass that was thrown behind him. And again, we're talking about one of the better cornerbacks, a top 5 pick in the draft when he was taken. So really good player. Worthy, another way this wasn't a completion, but man, against Stingley again, right? I just talked him up. Great coverage by Stingley, but just the fact that you're seeing him come down with this ball. The toes didn't get in, obviously, but he catches this ball. I just think this is an impressive rep. I think he puts himself in perfect position. Mahomes, the throw where it is. I mean, obviously, the route just kind of was led too far outside. I don't think that's on the throw. But all that to say, man, to come down with that with Stingley right on there, like that's an impressive rep. That's still a confidence building rep for Mahomes too. Seeing him come down with that in that tight window, they're going to be getting more and more, of those situations where teams are going to dare, Worthy to beat their best guy, and we'll see if he can do it more in those situations. Here's another play later that didn't get complete either, but again, you're just seeing Worthy doing his thing, breaking a pass and cross the cornerback's face, right? Just dicing him up real quick and getting on top of him, stacking him. Like this ball, it is a tough throw, right? Because you have the safety coming on. You can't throw it too far downfield or you're going to have that safety light him up. You're going to have to put it more towards the sideline. But the more towards the sideline you put it, the easier it is for the defender to be able to put a hand on it. It's a tough throw. But you still like to see Worthy with the off man, right? He's, this guy was giving him cushion. Worthy just easily, gets on top of him and gets into, a position where if this ball does barely get over his hand, it's a huge completion. If Mahomes just barely puts another layer on it, it's a huge completion. And then you saw him working on the slant over the middle. We never see slants in this Chiefs offense. And we finally saw one with Worthy where, again, you're putting him over the middle, but Worthy's a tough player, and you trust him again to, be so fast right here that he makes this guy miss. That's what you plan on happening. You plan on the safety taking that angle, just being a little bad on it. Worthy having the speed to catch and run through that, and that's what happens. This is an RPO, but
this play is one of my favorite plays of the game, and I remember where I was sitting in the stadium. We were in the end zone when they're going out on this, and there's just so much going on here. It's like if you're the defense, it's really not fair. Because you go in initially and look, the Chiefs are selling zone to the right, so they get that going. You got Joe Thuney blowing up some dudes in there, along with Mike Caliendo. You see they get that 3 technique, so you think, okay, they might run it. Go back out to the wide view though, because you can also take a look here. Look at Kels. They think that little, Kels gets everyone thinking, all right, a little bubble screen out to me. That's what the defense is doing, but then they pull that, they pull the guy over Kels kind of out that way. They're not going to play up on Worthy in this situation, and he just comes right in, and then just that little slant, man. If he gets past this guy, he is so close to taking this all the way for a touchdown. I don't think people even realize how close that was, but you basically have like 3 things going on here at once, and then all of a sudden the fastest guy on the field has the ball in his hands. You got to get him down before he can hit his full acceleration. It's hard to stop.
Yeah, no, it's funny because this is like the day one, like basic install for an RPO. Like when people started talking about RPOs, like this was it. Like off a zone, we can do a slant bubble, right? Where if that linebacker creeps in, we know that slant window is going to be open. Like this is this is the most, the most basic RPO you can do. And it's just nice to see the Chiefs, get back to the basics a little bit because, if number 4, he's reading this right here. If number 4, just chills, sits down, he has Kelsey on a bubble, keeps the drive going, maybe not complete, that as many yards as Worthy does. But, like you said, just 3 options here. Because also, if for whatever reason 39 widened as a linebacker here, if he was really widening out here, they could just run the ball here, have that numbers advantage. But Mahomes knew he was going to pull it before the snap. He saw 39 in the box, and this was just great play design. So it's cool to see Worthy getting these because he's the one that could take this, like you just said, to the house, right? Especially if he's breaking that first tackle, right? That was a stronger tackle attempt than I gave it credit for maybe initially. I thought it was maybe, just kind of ran through an arm tackle. He put a body on that. So shout out Worthy because it wasn't just, these kind of catches. Man, he has been so close on these like little end around or jet sweep actions where they have guys out in space pulling for him. This is a touchdown if Juju holds his block, and it's hard for Juju. Hard to say that if you're Juju because this is a defensive end. I think that was the Bills guy. Oh, it was Hunter? Okay.
Was that Danielle Hunter? It might have been.
Is he 55?
Anyway. He's one of those guys.
But yeah, it was a big guy. It was a defensive end. And Juju, that is hard for him to keep that block. He has to sustain that block. Look how long he has to sustain that block. That's hard. That's a hard ask. But if you just want to play imagination with me a little bit, and Juju does hold that block, watch the wall forming out here, where if Worthy can get to the outside here, Juwan has the angle on that guy. He's not going to be able to come up and get in on the tackle like he does here a little bit. He'll get blocked off. This is a touchdown. So, and you saw it a few times in Cleveland too, where I feel like he was so close. And I'm actually going to have another play here where he was kind of close as well to breaking it. But look at that wall right there forming. He would have been right to the pylon for a touchdown. And here again, closer to the red zone, right? When they get close to the end zone, this is when they pull these out. Little just quick throw to Worthy in the flat. You got 2 lead blockers on 2 guys. And 85 just, Ferkser, gets a good hit initially on him. But if he sustains that block, if he kind of grips that block a little bit, kind of drives him a little bit, and maybe doesn't allow 11 to get his hands on Worthy, there's a chance Worthy slips through there, maybe just has to make a move on 21. So, man, they are so close on these, Caleb.
And he's got, 8 total touchdowns this year? If you go back the entire season and just think about it, it's possible he could be in the upper echelon of players in touchdowns overall for rushing and receiving in the league. It's just been like one little thing here, him and Mahomes are slightly off on a connection, or he just doesn't quite get to an angle on a run, or some guy shoelace tackles him. So, I don't know. I keep thinking, through his rookie season so far, and it's I think he's gotten some criticism because he's not like a fully complete player. But also look at what the Chiefs are doing with this guy here. They're finding ways to utilize him. He is going to be a special player in the NFL and for this football team. It's just going to take a little bit of time, but he's already almost here and he's still so raw. It's just, they're finding ways to do what they got to do.
No, you're not kidding about the missed opportunities Worthy has this year. If he just hits on a few more of them, not even all of them, I mean, you're talking about a historic rookie season, honestly, in terms of touchdown count, in terms of total, just kind of efficiency. I feel like, just how often he's making a big play per touch. But I do want to point out here too, just again, kind of an RPO look where, this is predetermined more, where pre-snap, Mahomes is probably, kind of seeing the look in the box and probably wanting to throw this. But the other thing with these kind of plays, and you've seen him use them, it's not only getting Worthy in space, it kind of takes pressure off the left tackle, because a lot of these plays you're leaving alone that edge defender and blocking him with the read. And, no one has to worry about blocking him. He gets blocked by just air by, okay, if you're going to go upfield, if you're going to fly far upfield, we're going to hand the ball off. But yeah, if you're just going to play it cool, we're going to throw this ball. So that's just another reason to keep, putting those in the playbook, keep doing those RPO looks, those kind of, whether it's a swing route or slant to Worthy, anything. But then you just get the touchdown, which, pretty simple, pretty easy throw. But again, Worthy's route spacing, you kind of see him, kind of just read it real quick and just see where he has to go. You see him accelerate once he realizes that that slot defender is not going to, bail to get on top of him, right? He's going to kind of sit tight, and he knows Watson's taking that, that corner with him. he just accelerates and he just gets to the pylon. And that's feel. That's the feel that maybe, you know, comes along as your rookie season goes, right? That maybe you don't have right away. But that's just an easy touchdown where maybe, you know, earlier in the season, maybe the same route, maybe Worthy doesn't come off the ball with the same urgency or you know, or doesn't read it the same way. And so it allows maybe that slot defender, you know, to get out there. He just reads this and just accelerates, and it's an easy touchdown. So yeah, no, shout out Worthy, one of his best games of the season. And really coming on at the right time, because with Hollywood Brown back, you know, all this speed the Chiefs can use to create separation, Andy Reid can use to create people open, get open plays. And then when you put that all on top of that, Caleb, you have a guy like DeAndre Hopkins that you can just say, okay, you know, if everyone's covered, I don't know where to go with the ball. Let me give him a back shoulder, like we were talking about with Hollywood Brown earlier. But this is the king of them. This is the master of the back shoulder, and nothing better than this sweet toe tap. Just digs those toes in the field to stay in, man. That is just elite stuff. And that's exactly what we rarely ever have in this offense. I feel like is just kind of a situation where Mahomes always has that, not always, but you know, where he does feel comfortable. Like, okay, like if this main play design isn't open, because look, if to break it down real quick, you know, D-Hop's the backside of this play. You know, the front side of this play are these two receivers, and Mahomes is kind of reading that out first. But when that's not, you know, when they don't give him any, you know, the look that he wants, or it's not open, because it's really not, you know, everything's covered up. He could have given Worthy a shot down the field, but no reason to. When you can just come back and know that Hopkins is going to be there for a back shoulder fake. So that's just something that it's kind of just a security blanket for Mahomes.
It's kind of like when a basketball team that likes to run and get out in transition a lot kind of puts their post player in, and they let him post up a few drives in a row. It kind of throws everything off, you know, and he does look like a post player out there. Like that catch right there is unbelievable. Like Mahomes has had great players throughout his career. He's not had anyone with that skill set, though. Not, you know, Tyreek made like these crazy explosive acrobatic catches, but he did, you know, he was like going up and getting them out of the air, like jumping and getting them. Like Hopkins is like, you know, posting guys up and like sticking his arms out and just like playing like a basketball player out there. So that, and the fact that he's just so good in those situations where he has to know where he's at in correlation to the sideline, you know, it's just like that's the sixth sense out there.
Yeah, no, his positioning, there was that one play, I think it was in Cleveland, where he didn't come up with it, but he, you know, it kind of bobbled for a second, and there was a good camera angle where you see his eyes, and he is just locked in on that ball. Like he's another breed when it comes to the ball, you know, in the air, going and getting it. And Mahomes is starting to use it more, and he's starting to use that more again, while also having, it seems like, more and more options for speed guys creating separation, getting open themselves. A lot of positive things to be excited about with this pass offense moving forward, Caleb. But no, they weren't the only thing. The receivers and tight ends, quarterback weren't the only thing doing things on Saturday. I think the rest of the offensive line and the running back room also made a big contribution to getting that dub.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think a few of the cool things. I'll just start out with the touchdown. But the Chiefs have really gotten into a situation now in general where this variation of their offense, teams are going to have maybe 1 to 2 games tops, you know, maybe 3 if things don't go well this week against the Steelers, which we hope they do. But they're only going to have about 3 games, 2.5, 3 games worth of film to be able to watch. But let's start out with a little goal line. I think Kareem Hunt has to be this team's short yardage back. I think right now, the way things look, I think Kareem Hunt's this team's best running back. I don't think I'd be wrong to say that based on what we've seen. I'm not saying that as a put down for Pacheco. Obviously, he's coming back. You know, he's still not 100%. But I think that right now where things are at, they kind of need, I think with Kareem's vision and the way they're able to move the ball inside with just the blocking from the interior offensive line, I think that Kareem is probably the best option. That's not, and I'll talk about it here in a second, but that's not to say I don't think that Pacheco should just go sit on the bench, because there's going to be times and places where they can do a lot of fun things. But this play wasn't even that well blocked, and Kareem still just powers it in. But really, I mean, you see 98 there, Tim Settle. He's the guy who was doing a lot of talking this week to the media. And he gets driven out of the picture. Creed just takes him away and pushes him and opens up this massive lane. Trey gets up to the linebacker, and Mike Caliendo's kind of stumbling through there, but he's creating just enough space to be able to get, so that Kareem can just kind of power through these guys and get his way in. But overall, just a good play to go score a touchdown there.
Yeah, no, you got to give credit 66 for staying on his feet there, kind of just continuing to be a shield, not becoming a tripping hazard for Kareem there. No, we do have to talk about that, because that was one of my big instincts. I think a lot of people had that same tweet at one point when Pacheco got stuffed, and maybe you'll show it, but Kareem Hunt is running too hard to not be this team's, whether it's short yardage, whether it's whatever, he is just running way too hard to not be the guy punching through situational runs.
And this play right here is late in the game when they did need to kind of run the clock and run the ball. They come out here in the full house. And by the way, the Chiefs did sign Robert Tonyan today, former Packer, former Bear, big blocking tight end. Wonder what he may be used for here moving forward. Also a red zone target if he can be healthy. But the Chiefs here, they're going back to their inside run game, and you see Kareem kind of reads the hole. They've got stuff starting to open up around him a little bit. Wanya Morris and Trey Smith actually take Tim Settle on this play, if you take a look at it, because I think it looks, they're just running a little bit of a zone variation here. But you see Wanya comes in, and Wanya came in because Juwan Taylor got hurt, and I thought Wanya actually looked good. He looked fine for the most part, but him and Trey just take Tim Settle, the trash talker, and throw him out of the play, and Kareem follows him right up the middle for, about 4 or 5 hard-earned yards here in the 4-minute drill.
Well, I mean, we talk about Robert Tonyan. I don't know if it has anything to do with 85 Ferkser, not maybe, nailing his tryout here. I don't know. It feels like, he took on that block pretty well, I guess. Or he planted that block pretty well.
I see Tonyan coming in kind of doing like Blake Bell type stuff, because that is kind of what the team's been missing this year. They've been missing that a little bit here as they've kind of had to maneuver their way through. I think this offense works better with 3 tight ends in general. So we'll take a look. Here's a little bit more Kareem though. And there we go. So I like this. So this is late in the game. This is getting ready to be the big run he had. But watch, you come out loose box here from the Texans. They got 6 guys in the box, but their backers are kind of spread out. They got wide defensive ends. Chiefs are going to be real smart with this. Mahomes motions over Kareem. Kareem kind of starts eyeballing the backers. He's kind of like acting like he's looking out, like he might be getting ready to help chip. But then you see where the Chiefs come with their zone game here. And the Texans kind of play themselves because they return the wrong way, which is funny because Andy Reid, this little shift before the snap from Kareem, it does, create this kind of reaction from these guys, and it ends up being in the Chiefs' favor because they're going zone the other way. You'd prefer, when teams do this kind of stuff into zone to the other side, it's typically going to work out. But Caliendo gets a nice block up here. Creed seals it off. Joe Thuney kicking out. And now you've just got like this big lane and breaking through. And they just get through for the first down here, just right through there here. As this was late in the game when they're trying to, run some clock and everything too.
Do you feel like Caliendo is holding up inside? You think he's doing a good enough job? Because I think we all can see that Thuney is playing a good left tackle. Mm-hmm. But if Caliendo is a weakness inside, maybe it doesn't do you too much good. So I don't know. What have you seen from 6'6"?
I don't think he's been great. He hasn't been awful. I think they're getting what they need. Obviously this is a kind of a messed up situation, but they trust him more on the inside between 2 great players. And he's making, he's not playing perfect by any means. He's doing just enough to get the job done though. But he's still a young guy too. So it's not like he's out here with just a wealth of experience. He's still got to kind of feel out the ropes for his career also. He does kind of remind me a little bit of like the early Nick Allegretti days in 2020 when it's like we have no other options other than this guy. Like, he wasn't bad. He wasn't a liability, but you could tell he's still like not quite a refined player. But I do think they like him in here. I think that, he is going to be like a career swing guard. I don't know if he'll start much after the season. Gets a little bit here. And, Kareem just continues to fight through and, just the Chiefs' power run game. You see Caliendo pulling. Pretty solid front side double team here too from Trey and Juwan. But it gets just enough. And, Caliendo's not like a super athlete. They do lose a lot of having Joe Tooney pull and Trey Smith pulling when they do have Caliendo in the game there, because he's not like, he's not that elite athlete like they are. Like, people take for granted how easy those guys make plays like, power and counter look to some degree.
Yeah.
But we'll keep going through. Yep. We'll keep going through here.
Yeah, please.
And then you got Pacheco, and I think Pacheco was okay. He kind of strolled in the short yardage. I liked this play, though, because it did show that he is making some development with his vision. He was pretty patient on this play. Nice little cutback here. I still think his vision could be better, especially in the short yardage. I think sometimes he's gotten so used to just put my head down and just try to run through people that it doesn't always work. But this is just a little Y counter. Pretty good motion from the Chiefs here. Going to get a pretty solid double team on the play side. Caliendo, comes in like he's almost trying to cut. I don't think he loses balance. I do think he is kind of trying to cut here on Hunter. Kelsey gets just enough, and Juwan Taylor's got his guy angled out, and just a nice cut from Pacheco to fight through.
So. Yeah, no, this wasn't. You're right. No, this was a great readout. Because he's reading that Juwan block at the second level. He doesn't run into that angle. Where the block is angled right now. He gets behind it. Love it. But yeah, no, I do think Kareem, the main thing right now, when people are talking about Pacheco versus Kareem, it feels like Kareem does have that superior vision a little bit. Maybe it's not even the vision. Maybe it's just like the fluidity, the ability to kind of move laterally without necessarily stopping. I do feel like Pacheco's a little more start and stop than Kareem. Kareem's a little more smooth, even if he, lacks maybe the explosiveness that Pacheco does once he's at the second level.
Oh, I just showed this one a second. Oh, yeah. And I think that, for Kareem's entire career, his big, the thing that he's kind of been able to hold his hat on for most of his career has been his ability to be able to, read these kinds of, make holes, make reads, and, fight for these extra yards. And Pacheco's
contact balance. Yeah.
Yeah. And here's that fourth down play. You wish the Chiefs would have converted this. This is why I think I'm saying possibly leaning more towards Kareem moving forward. They shift over Pacheco, and this play is not well blocked. It's not like this is perfectly well blocked, but you start to see, you have more of a hole opening up in the B gap to where if Pacheco wanted to make a cut and press it a little wide, he could, but he's just so one track right here, just take it right up the middle. But look at this linebacker, number 48. You see that shift over, and it's like there's just a big widening gap here between Caliendo and Joe Tooney that you might want to try to go through, because they're going to end up with an angle on both guys. So if he's able to cut a little bit, he probably gets it. Obviously not well blocked. Juwan Taylor and Trey Smith did not have very good snaps on this play. They both get kind of blown up on the inside. Juwan Taylor giving up the inside penetration. Trey getting knocked back a little bit from the backer. Just not a great fourth down rep. But we see, and later in the game, you saw Kareem, he did step up in those kinds of situations.
Yeah, no, and it just feels like Kareem has that, I guess it just comes back to fluid movement again, but just even when he's getting into the line of scrimmage and taking on contact, it just feels like he does it with a little more, I guess balance is probably the word. Pacheco really just feels more of like he's just throwing himself at a pile and seeing what happens.
And there's going to be a time for that where I think they can use it. But we'll talk about P. Ryan here for a second, because he's starting to get utilized a lot more in the passing game. And this is just such a nice little play. You motion over Noah Gray. All right, they're in man defense. Defensive back following me all the way over. Take him out wide. You have a little step up on the other side here. They're bringing some guys. They've got three. They should have three over there. They should be able to cover P. Ryan out of the backfield, but you have Kelsey kind of coming in and Noah Gray coming in. They're both making that contact right around the line of scrimmage to where they can't really call anything on that. Gray does do a good job, but P. Ryan's on the wheel route here, and he just hits it to perfection, and Pat just puts it on him. And this was late in the first half of the game when the Chiefs are trying to go down and get some points, and just a well-designed, well-used play. But I do like it that Pirine, we saw the first 10 to 12 weeks of the season with him only pass blocking or not really doing much, and now they're starting to run him out of the backfield a little bit.
Oh yeah, big time. No, it was funny on this play. My immediate thought was like, wow, Kelsey got away with OPI because he just clearly blocks the dude. But yeah, I guess the Texans defender really didn't set himself up well because he comes right onto the line of scrimmage. And yeah, if you're on the line of scrimmage, Kelsey has every right to block you. It could just be like you're a pass protector or a pass rusher, right? If you're on the line of scrimmage like that, there's no reason Kelsey can't put hands on you right off the line. And so that was just a great play design. That's an Andy staple, right? They love bringing that out whenever, they feel like they have situations where they can get man coverage linebacker on the running back. But it does tell you, you kind of mentioned, I don't know if you said that in the show or pre-show, that it really does feel like Andy and there was a lot of urgency to have really strong play design. This and this is another one, right?
Oh, love this. And look at this. So Pirine, like, he does a great job right here. Like, he slow plays it, like selling, like, oh, I'm coming over here to help Joe Tooney. I'm coming over here just to help block with Joe Tooney because we got Kelsey chipping the other side. Slow plays it, and then he just kind of stops, slows down a little bit, and then he just rips himself out into the flat here. And you see they get the man back, the man linebacker supposed to be covering the running back. Well, he's just kind of hanging out before the snap. He's seeing this, but he's going to be late. And you've got the crosser from Justin Watson, and I think that's Hopkins in there. You've got them both coming back over the middle to where this guy's got to run over all this stuff, and he just gets tripped up and falls down. And it's going to be easy for Pirine just lowering his shoulder in for a nice little love tap there to finish the play. But just a great sell from him. I'm super excited to see how he ends the season. I think that of the players on this offense, he is Mr. Underrated. He spent the first 12 weeks of the season just grinding, blocking, not getting many handoffs. You don't see him in a lot of those situations. But now you're starting to see some of that Jerick McKinnon package start to open back up a little bit, or some of that Damian Williams package too. Like the Chiefs ran Damian Williams on that wheel route all the time. They did stuff like this with him regularly too. Just two guys who have become famous in Kansas City for, being key running backs on Super Bowl teams and making big plays. And now you've got a guy like Pirine kind of adopting that package also. It's, gets you excited to see that. So overall with the running back room, here's what I think. I think that Kareem Hunt does need to be your short yardage back and probably your first back in. Where I think we can utilize Pacheco, though, is something that we haven't done much this season, but it's something I think they're going to break out in the playoffs, and that's the perimeter run game. And if Joe Tooney is staying as the left tackle in the perimeter run game, you have an athlete out there at left tackle. Donovan Smith was old and fat. Orlando Brown, not an athlete. Like, I'm not being mean or anything, but the Chiefs, athleticism of their tackles and ability of their tackles in the past has really limited what they could do as far as like running outside of the tackles. Where Joe Tooney could be the blessing in disguise is he's one of the best athletes on the field. Like, you can run pin and pull stuff. You could run like the Trent Williams package that the 49ers run where they get him out in space and pulling, if you can get like that pin and pull or a little outside zone. That's where I see the Chiefs kind of utilizing Pacheco, because those outside runs will benefit him more, I think, because you don't have to make a bunch of reads. You see, daylight, you need to just hit it hard. Or if you have to break one tackle, then you got to break one tackle and you can be off to the races. They showed a little bit of it against Buffalo last year in the playoffs. We didn't see a ton of it after that. I think it's something that they're holding on to. Keep feeding Kareem, keep Kareem fresh, though, but you want him on the short yardage. And then Pirine could turn into like Mr. Red Zone, Mr. Third and long guy. It's 3rd and 15. He catches a pass 2 yards from the line of scrimmage and goes for 20. That's how I kind of see that going also, but he's earned it because he blocked well all season long, and now you've got these guys second guessing each other. 2 games of film going to the playoffs ain't much to go off of.
No. But no, you're on to something with those outside perimeter runs. I mean, we were at training camp together. You pointed out how much they were working on that stuff. That's something, maybe one big reason why they thought, hey, let's try to make this work Kingsley Stuamataia, because, we are going to be deadly on these outside runs too. Well, what happens right away? Obviously, Sua Mata'ia gets, is not good enough to start. So that kind of maybe goes out the window. But so does Pacheco gets hurt too. And so that, a lot of that game plan maybe where they did like their looks on those outside runs like you're talking about might have gotten shelved for a lot of the season. And now we're seeing, like you just mentioned, man, Tooney's got that athleticism. Jawan, obviously, I think is comfortable in those situations too. That's a good thought. I like that thought. And it gets Pacheco that runway to get his speed going, and make that one cut to really, make a big play. But you also mentioned the Samaj Pirine thing too. Damian Williams, he was the OG, and that last play you showed where Samaj Pirine iced the game, they did run that with D. Will, I remember, to tie up the Ravens game at home in 2018. That one crazy, Tyreek Hill play, the end of that drive was a D. Will leak out through the pass protection into the opposite flat. That is another staple. And again, I think the way to close this all out, like you kind of said too, it does feel like Andy really, brought it all out this game and really tried to make sure this team won the game. They had a lot of strong play design. They had a lot of, aggressive situations, I feel like, whether it is going for a fourth down early in the game, they went for a fourth down later, right? Just didn't get it. All that to say, it did feel like we saw a lot of the good stuff, and it turned into one of their best games of the year. So maybe that tells you something about where they're headed and what the playoffs could look like, Caleb. So any final thoughts before Wednesday's Christmas Day game, Steelers coming up?
Man, I know there's been a lot of talk just about like, the one score games and all of that. I think if there's anything the Chiefs have kind of proven over the last month or so, it's that they don't have to show their best hand to beat teams. The Texans are a good football team. They have a good defense. They're well coached. Like we were talking about before the show, CJ Stroud's an excellent quarterback. He's going to be one of the faces of the NFL someday. They went in and took care of business versus those guys on both sides of the ball. You see the the sense of urgency I think was there that you don't always see sometimes from the Chiefs lately in the regular season. But I think Andy and the coaching staff have recognized how important this possible 23 days of rest could be headed into a divisional round, and they're going all in to win these next two and then figure it out after that. Having the bye week in the modern NFL is possibly one of the most important things you can have. Obviously, last year the Chiefs didn't need it, but the Chiefs last year were a different kind of team that you rarely see, going on the road and winning back-to-back playoff games in hostile environments. That doesn't happen. You need to, limit the amount of chances you have by getting the one seed to, have something go wrong. And at the same time, the Chiefs are playing really good at Arrowhead right now. I know the last month or so the Bills have looked elite, but football is all about peaking at the right time. But there's still a sense of mystery to the Chiefs right now. Like, people are like, maybe I think smart football people, and I think probably people in circles in the NFL are probably starting to, get a little bit anxious, a little bit nervous, because you just saw some stuff on film from this week from the Chiefs you have not seen before. And I'm telling you, 8 quarters of film is not enough time to, figure out a plan to stop that. So they're going to be playing, a lot of these teams in the playoffs could end up playing reactionary football.
Yeah, no, I think the Chiefs are like, overrated or their records inflated. I think that's kind of a tired narrative if after these last 3-4 games, they're playing good football. They've played some good teams. They've beaten some good teams. They've done it with stout defense, maybe giving up a few plays here or there, but stout defense and the offense coming on, finding ways to get the ball in the end zone, finding ways to sustain drives. And they got the one last test to see if they're really, up for, sealing this thing off, getting that one seed done. They got to win on Christmas Day. So we'll root them on, Chiefs Kingdom. Make sure, you're wearing your red on Wednesday, not just for Christmas. And I appreciate everyone joining tonight, everyone checking out our show. Make sure you're following on Twitter, both of us putting out clips, but also make sure you're following the page on YouTube. Make sure you like this video. Always feel free to comment. We love comments. We didn't get some, didn't get too many tonight, but we're always willing to answer your comments, talk to y'all. So appreciate y'all joining. We'll look forward to talking about the 15-1 Chiefs hopefully next week, and looking forward to a historic playoff run. We're ready for it. Appreciate y'all joining. We'll see you next time.